That's awkward. So witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Yuji Mikadoba, lecturing forensic medicine at Imperial Human University in Tokyo, Japan. Gori? And Professor Mikadoba, the young lady beside you, is Dr. Maria Gori. Scotland Yard practicing coroner, the daughter of Dr. Saito, understand? Yes, Dr. Saito. Afraid I can't tell you why she's here. She just appeared. From nowhere. In shadows. Okay. You summoned this strange Japanese man as a witness to that autopsy. But you don't summon Mama? That makes no sense. She was there too. I agree with that. That's about the size of it. I've had her eyes boring to the side of my cheek constantly. Well, at least that was the antechamber too. Oh man, terrible. Terrible is making me shudder. The revelation about those society came to light. Some days ago defied the reputation of the entire judiciary. She was therefore then deemed unfit to appear as a witness into these to proceed. The Ministry of Justice decision on that file is final. Well, we wouldn't want any more perjury to be committed, would we? The Ministry of Justice? Some questionable strings are being pulled, I think. I remember you, Dr. Mikadoba, but I certainly never expected to be meeting you under these circumstances. Yes, it's been a long while, long, strong heart. The prosecution understands that you were a visiting student of forensic science in London till 10 years ago. Interested, just look at it. That's right, I studied under Dr. Wilson and at St. Stina. You were present at the autopsy of my brother, Lord Clint Van Zix. I was, yes, assisted Dr. Wilson with the entire procedure. None less far and skilled than any Japanese man. Well, Dr. Wilson asked me to be his primary assistant on that occasion. The autopsy report was actually penned by you, I believe. Yes, I know that all of that doctor's fine, and we were done. He read through that document and signed with it. Poor Mum, a secondary assistant. She would have such a good view of all the ignorance. So, the professor, do you remember Inspector Gregson? Yes, of course. If it wasn't for his insistence, all that this autopsy will never have happened. But he was absolutely convinced that he will reveal decisive evidence against Genshin, you see. So Lord Strongheart had to entreat the nobility to allow it to take place. Do correct me if I'm wrong, my lord. It was a result of that autopsy that a mass murder was apprehended and justice was done. Well, Gresson admitted it before he was killed. He admitted that the result of the autopsy were fabricated. You were there at the time, so you must testify. You have an obligation to tell the truth about what really went on. So you sound a little bit desperate, my dear fellow. Kazuma? Absolutely, that's precisely why I'm here. And that's why I'm here too. Cool. I don't know if it's necessary. Well then, you will give your formal testimony now, witness. But before you begin, a word of warning. Oh? You will state truthfully and accurately what you saw and what you heard at the time. I wouldn't dream of doing otherwise, my lord. The moment your testimony verges on supposition, I will expel you from my courtroom. Remember that. From my own observation, I couldn't say there was any indication of the autopsy result having been fabricated. That resulted from a wound made by a Western-style sword, transfixing the heart. I found a little strange. Okay, there were no other signs of internal injury, nothing questionable at all. It was just a beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence removed from the man's stomach. Presumed to have been swallowed by the victim as a way of posthumously identifying himself. He swallowed the knife? The dagger? That's impressive. That is just like no indication, nothing to suggest fabrication. Professor Mikadoba, are you certain about it? Well, nothing that I could positively identify as such, much less swear to its testimony. Well, that cleared things up nicely. The only fabrication here, Asogi, has come from you. What? You claim that the inspector confessed just before his death, but that is the fabrication. No, he will acknowledge it. I swear he did. Really? But he was a sword at his throat. The man was clearly at his wits' ends. The court will give you no credit to this confession. That was utterly novice desperation. Quite simply, there was nothing questionable about the investigation of Law, Clint Francis's death. And with this testimony, we have without question covered the whole truth of the matter. Why is she still looking at him? If I may, my lord. There was most certainly something questionable about it. The whole truth does rather elude us, I feel. I beg your pardon. Well, you're obviously aware of the facts of the case. All 4 of the professor's previous victims died when an enormous beast was set upon them that ripped out their throats. Oh, such a horrifying crime. Yeah, that was my point. I was like, why a knife? But curiously, the killer last victim, Lord Clint Van Six, suffered a different fate. Yes, you're right. He was stabbed through the heart with a sword. That's enough. Earlier I warned you about this witness. I promised to curtail the testimony as soon as I entered the realm of supposition of speculation. Very well, my lord. In that case, the defense will pursue conclusion to this during the cross-examination. What? I have the right to cross-examine every witness of the testimony, and I fully intend to exercise that right. Ryunosuke. I'm afraid that even the presiding judge has no authority to contravene the letter of law. I'm sure every member of the jury present in the gallery will agree. Testify! Testify! Very well, you may begin, counsel. However, to run your argument straight from the established facts, we're now hesitate to bring the cross-examination to an end. Proceed with caution. Hold it! What exactly was it, though? What beautiful, dangerous, you mean? Well, it was sparkling around with a hole, as if it might slip over fingers, perhaps. It was a ring, belonging to Genshi Asogi. My father's ring was inside the victim's stomach. At the time, Genshi wore a large ring of the digits the quarter of his left hand, the fourth, or a ring finger, the fourth. I understand it was some sort of keepsake. Oops. Doesn't help. When my father left Japan for London 16 years ago, I was 8 years old, but I remember that ring. You do? My father's possessions were sent to our family home in Japan after his death, but the ring wasn't among them. Obviously not, it was a key piece of evidence. It remains under lock and key in the stores of Scotland Yard to this day. But an autopsy again, she was summoned by the police to check for the presence of his ring. It wasn't of his hand. It wasn't on his hand, of course, moreover there were deep abrasions on his finger where they had been pulled off. The arrested man there and then right before my eyes. Cool day. I brought a ring along with me today. What? That's so hard to swallow ring. It is a bit dusty from years in the stores. Good gracious, yes, that is. I've seen that contain long years. And that was found inside the victim's stomach. Yes, I'm afraid so. You hesitate there, Professor Mukadora. Should I reread something to it? Ah, well, just thinking back now. I didn't actually witness the moment it was extracted from the victim's body. Really? At the precise moment Dr. Wilson had asked me to fetch him a new spellbooks. Dr. Corey, the removal of historic evidence from the stores requires my consent, does it not? Pull out the mask. like Call of Duty. Okay, however it came to be, better. He came to be here. The court cannot deny that is crucial evidence for today's proceedings. Very well, you may submit it. Should I examine it? It's not the sort of ring normally seen in Japan. They almost look like claws protecting their jewel. Max is very, very careful. Yeah, thank you. I realize that. What's happening? These fat claws are doing a good job of protecting the equal fat gemstone in the middle of this ring. Yes, if you were clumsy, you could give yourself a rather nasty cut. Damn, I should. Ah. No, my finger's bleeding. The claws are really harsh. Oh my, that was very quick clumsiness. You think there's blood in here? Would you make it such a dangerous ring? You're gonna swallow it without doing yourself some fairly serious damage, surely. Yeah, that's what. It's really hard to swallow this ring. I was thinking mucky barn about the sides it will go down much better. And some red bean paste in the middle. Most times that me could probably manage to choke on it somehow. It looks very hard to swallow, as I said. There's nothing else? Nothing else. It looks weird. It looks weird and stuff. Objection! I said before, it's quite questionable. There's no damage by swallowing this kind of a ring. But you didn't actually see it being removed, did you, Professor Mikotoba? That's right. As I said in my testimony before, at that moment I was fetching and replacing a scalpel that Dr. Wilson had requested. In other words, you can neither confirm nor deny whether this ring, in fact, really came from the victim's stomach or not. What are you suggesting, Counsel? That the ring was never in the victim's stomach to begin with. It's entirely feasible that Dr. Wilson fabricated a detail about the autopsy. What are you saying? That Dr. Wilson? That Dr. Wilson was in possession of the ring in advance after it was somehow stolen from Mr. Asagi. And he produced it during the procedure, pretending to have found it there and then in the victim's stomach.
Objection!
Supposition. Supposition? At best, what possible evidence do you have to support such a rash claim? There's evidence right here. That's the autopsy report. It's explaining that report, Counsel. Other than the ring, nothing unusual was noted internally, so I'm not sure how to intend to prove your point. You already done it for me, my lord. The lack of internal injuries said it all. What? To swallow a ring of this size will require considerable effort and determination. In addition to its size, there are sharp claws around the gemstone to contend with. My brother was a determined man, on the brink of his death, even more so, I'm sure. He would have stopped at nothing to ensure that the devil killer was brought to justice. If he really had swallowed an enormous ring, it is conceivable that no traces of its passage down his throat will have remained as an internal trauma. And there you arrive at the sticking point. That's precisely why I had my doubts about the findings myself 10 years ago. Then why didn't you say something at the time? I did. I still remember the conversation I had with Dr. Wilson in the laboratory that day. Look at this! Now this is a very curious thing to find in a man's stomach, wouldn't you say? But is that rather peculiar, Dr. Wilson? What's now, Mikotoba? Well, if he swallowed a ring of that size with those sharp metal claws that he has, surely you expect to see damage to all the throat, esophagus, to all mucous membranes at the very least. Dr. Mikotoba, may I remind you that I have vastly more experience than you. I'm terribly sorry. Can't think of plenty of ways to explain why no injuries would have been seen. Now let's say this. The victim would appear to have ingested the item as evidence to identify his assailant. Go ahead, write it down. So I was right, Dr. Wilson. Deliberately fabricated the result of that autopsy to implicate my father. In disappointed, Counsel, that argument is nothing more than speculation. What? Dr. Wilson was a Britain leading authority on forensic science and autopsy work. There is no scientific basis on which to doubt that man's expert opinion. Pardon the interruption, my lord, but damage to the mucous members of the throat is easily identified, even in living subjects. Using a device called an endoscope, recently demonstrated impractical using files. They already had an endoscope? I want one the government can pay. I don't think so, and Totogori. Rest assured that your removal of evidence from the stores without permission will not go unpunished. We open up the dead to find the truth. I beg your pardon? But Mama, she chose to stitch her corpse up with all her secrets inside. That's wrong. Totogori? It's looking as though she'd chosen to walk a different path to her Mama! Mama! Kill the man. Yes, the ring. What about the ring? I remember something. An early incident. What incident? The one I recounted to you before about a memory I have. Oh, Genshi Asogi saved my life. He lost that day. My father saved your life. He's so like... He was sent PFS, yeah, well, foggy night, yeah, Genshi and I were walking down the ground street for about an hour. All of a sudden, they were attacked. Classic game. Don't make a peep, come with us. And all the silence were armed with pistol, and I shoot him. Right in the chest. Wait, they find a ring, didn't find a bullet, right? The next thing I knew, the silence all around. Genshi landed cover by slipping from his left hand. He shielded me. It was on the ring finger of his left hand that he used to wear that ring. What are you saying? I always believed those thugs were after me, but now I'm starting to question if perhaps I wasn't the intended target after all. Wait, but... Genshin was arrested 2 days after that attack, and in that short interval, the decisive evidence needed to indict him was miraculously found. The ring was stolen from him? You think that's what those thugs were after that night?
Objection!
You pathetic coward! You expect me to believe that you weren't involved? What do you mean by that? It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who took it. You stole my father's ring. You set the whole thing up. So for Kazuma, open your eyes. Ryunosuke, you must know deep down. The truth can be completely obscure even when your judgment is only slightly clouded. But the moment you seem to be floundering through a dense fog is why you were so insistent I should be present in this trial to see you like this. Evil laugh. Well, this is an amusing spectacle. What a grandiose expression on your face, as you were Lady Justice herself. It seems you've truly convinced yourself of this alleged fabrication of the autopsy result. So much of that you are apparently blinded to blatant contradiction that you'll be blown out of it. What? Though it is extremely hard to believe, let us imagine that there was some misconduct during the autopsy. If that were the case, why would Asogi not have disputed the findings in his trial? Oh. In a closed court hearing 10 years ago, the defendant never once denied the claims against him. Isn't that right, Lord 16? Yes, that is indeed correct. Upon hearing the verdict of guilty, he merely closed his eyes, quietly accepting the judgment. The action of a man who has accepted responsibility for his deed, and he is resigned to his fate. But then... Oh my. If Mr. Asogi did nothing to oppose the charges against him, then that would surely mean there was no fabricated evidence. How is the conclusion at which you should have arrived many minutes ago, Prosecutor Asogi? Your twisted loyalty and clouded judgment hamper your ability for logical thought. Well, you've been called. Genshi Asogi's silence at his hearing can mean only one thing. There was no fabrication of evidence during the autopsy of his final victim, if that autopsy was all above board, there'd be nothing to stop Lord Stronger bringing this trial to an immediate
Objection!
Thank you, Ryunosuke. Was it for your frank words just now? This trial may be very well bad and prematurely. Kazuma? What is this latest absurdity, Counsel? My lord? Your lord? Your reasoning is perfectly sound, but for one giant hole. Beg your pardon. Yeah! The soundtrack is back! Regarding my father's silence was due to the fact that there was no fabricated evidence. There's another possible explanation. You overlooked the possibility that he had a reason for maintaining that
Objection!
silence that would lead to him being convicted and sent to his death. If the autopsy result were an invention, there is no conceivable reason why the man would have protested.
Objection!
Would have not protested. Oh, those results were an invention, right? There are no question of that. Or are you forgetting that 2 people with a connection to the autopsy have been assassinated? As I force the grievance, I feel from my mind I start to see you in a very different light. I think perhaps it's you who's been living delusion these 10 years. Me? Kazuma-sama has created one last chance for us. So here, Mr. Udo, we can only show there was a reason for his father's silence in his trial. The reason why a man will have said nothing but though he was innocent. Being part of some negotiation. Enough rhetoric, the court must be showing evidence. What proof do you have?
Take that!
It's true that Giant Asogi silence during this trial resulted the paper, I think. It's the Asogi paper. But that didn't actually lead to his execution, on the contrary. It led to his escape, an escape that was only possible because he'd been sentenced to death. Although I find it hard to believe my father would have negotiated that way, the defense is correct. A fake execution, falsification of death certificate, and a jailbreak inside a coffin. Clearly such an elaborate plan could have been carried out by my father alone. He must have had the help of a collaborator from the jury. Here the dismissal notice of the chief warder who was working in the prison at the time. The notes read, there are indications that the jailbreak was in planning prior to the inmate incarceration. In other words, there was suggestion of some sort of negotiation between Mr. Asogi and the British government. In exchange for his silence in court, he was given an assurance that he will be broken out of prison. Yes, with a sort of clandestine agreement in place, I can imagine he will have kept very quiet. I will go further than that. In fact, I would say that the elaborated jailbreak of Mr. Asogi can be explained in no other way. Order. First fabricated evidence and now a jailbreak conspiracy. Yeah, it's kind of far-fetched. Because it was intimately linked. Kind of makes sense. Prosecution wishes to summon the witnesses. This is more. People can testify about the jailbreak that took place 10 years ago. Governor K, the poor chief ward of the prison. And B, won't allow this story to turn into a fire to summon the governor of the prison after all these years. Oh, it wouldn't be any trouble, my lord. What? Father? My dear friend may appear a little rather paid at times, but I can assure you, he is extremely thrilled. He wired up Bo Barclay into the local prison earlier, asking Governor Katie and Mr. Vigil to attend the old valley as a matter of extreme urgency. Mr. Shultz did what? Did that? Are you telling me that? Both men are here, unless I'm much mistaken. Waiting out just outside the courtroom in this very moment. My lord, you must permit this right to proceed as you declare at this outset. You promise that we stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Very well, bring in the witnesses. Make no mistake, I too would like nothing more than to lay this business to rest once and for all. You know what would be very interesting? The Queen herself coming in. Will the new witness state their names and occupation for the court, please? I, Barry Kenny, Governor Barclay Prison. Everyone call me Gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits. Your other persona, if you don't mind. Oh, I do beg your pardon. Of course. Personality. My name is Dale Vega. I used to be chief warder of the marketplace. The reason you've been summoned here to court today is to testify about a jailbreak of so-called Professor 10 years ago. Lost the Professor? We already been through all that so far a decade ago. And the conclusion was that there was anything untoward happened. A convict escaped from the prison, Governor. Hardly what you call nothing untoward. Oh, well. The convict death certificate was somehow falsified after he was allegedly executed, and escaped the prison inside his own coffin. A plan of that complexity could never have been carried out without the help of somebody of influence inside the prison. Governor Academy, don't imagine that passage of time will afford you any protection. There's still the question who shot him. If it turns out you were involved in that plot to break Mr. Sogi out of your prison, then of course, the consequence will be very serious, and all likelihood, capital punishment. Guts, hold on there, lady. All I did was... Witness, Governor Cading. Aye, sir? You have a critical role to play in the public safely on our country. A great responsibility indeed. The significance of your testimony in this court cannot be understated. Therefore, think carefully before you speak. Prosecutor Sogi, if you are threatened to witness again, you will be held in contempt of court. My apologies, my lord. There's no disputing the fact that an intricate jailbreak plot was enacted 10 years ago. Clearly, you were both involved in some way. You still testify before the court now and explain exactly what took place. Very well, let the witness give their formal testimony. Tell the court everything you know of the plot. Okay, so the jailbreak was the day the Japanese joke was found guilty and the directive came from the prosecutor office. I see. I assigned the convict to the chief warder Vigil here and put the plan into action behind the scenes. I was voted for Asogi right up until the night of his execution. I knew nothing of any plot. I'd indicate if there was some negotiation between the government and the prosecutor office. Yes. All I did was carry out my duty for Her Majesty, Great British Empire. A directive from the prosecutor office. Are you saying that was the jailbreak plot? What? Aye, that's right. Aye, that's right. Are you serious? Who sent it? Who authorized that plan? I didn't can that. Didn't can that? Are you saying you don't know? Listen, there were many things about the Professor case, and one is unusual in some way. You ain't got any question, I just did what I was told to do. More than that, I couldn't tell you. I see. No, I don't. But if the jailbreak plan originated from the prosecutor office, then one thing is very clear. As suspected, there was clandestine dealings going on between Mr. Sogi and that office. The jailbreak was promised in exchange for Mr. Sogi admitting to crimes he didn't commit. That counsel is nothing more than speculation on your part. So let me ask the defense. Oh, yes, my lord? I fail to see how these witnesses have any more pertinent information here. Do you intend to assert your right to a cross-examination? Absolutely, I have no intention of squandering a single opportunity, my lord. It seems all your Japanese are fiercely tenacious. Very well, proceed, counsel. So, even if you know who the reader is, the question will be like, who is the professor? Who the hell is the professor then? I mean, if he's not Asogi, what the hell is it? He was already dead? They killed him? What happened? He disappeared, right? When he was in castle. Hold it! You carried out the plan in its entirety? Aye, I did everything I could at the time. As you know, Genshiasogi was shot dead in Logate Cemetery after his escape. Tell me, was that part of the plan too? Shot. My instructions were to we getting the guy out of the jail. Oh, nothing more. Can I tell you anything about what happened after that only? Personally, I believe...
What does this all mean?
His death was the last part of the plan.
Excuse me!
What? His death was the last part of his plan? Vigil, is something wrong? Walk! Yes, sir, what I can do, yo, sir? He's saluting now. What is it? Some sort of Barclay convention? What Governor Kading was just saying seemed to upset you. Did he bring something to mind, perhaps? Okay. For the last 10 years, I completely blotted out the memories of that time from my mind. I was betrayed by my superiors in the name of my country. Just as my father was betrayed, it seems. But you see, thinking back now, I really can't imagine what the shooting of Mr. Asogi in the cemetery was ever part of the plan. What makes you think that? Well, it just doesn't make sense, does it? To make the man admit to crimes he didn't commit, promise of a jailbreak, only to kill him in turn. A treasure of the worst kind. The point is, if the intention was always to betray him, by not executing me directly, why would there be any need for the chicaneries of an escape? Ah, so it was never meant to be. Yes, that's quite true. Whoever negotiated with Asogi never intended to keep his or her end of the bargain. It would have been far simpler just to let the man be executed in prison, as they take it by his sentence. That's true. What happened in that vast chamber of secrets that it is Barclay, behind the high prison walls? I suppose nobody knows what really went on in the execution room. Yes, it's unsettling mystery, certainly. Truth to be told, there's a wee matter that's never quite made sense to me. We? You believe there was some kind of negation behind the jailbreak between, well, whatever, Asogi and the body of the top? Doesn't it quite add up, does it? Yeah, it doesn't. Governor Kading, I must insist you explain these dupes to you have. Well, man, your former testimony. Guts? Aye. Go on then.
Objection!
Confessing under oath to murders he didn't commit on a verbal assurance of later being broken out of prison. Genshiasogi was taking an incredible risky gamble. Very true. There was nothing to stop the British breaking their word and executing him behind closed doors anyway. Under normal circumstances, no man will stake his life on a gentleman's agreement like that. Which means that Mr. Asogi must have had a trump card. Something that guaranteed that he wouldn't be betrayed. Some kind of weapon. Havis, the fella couldn't possibly have any like that. Well, you know what he did, Governor. The Asogi papers, the name given to the last will and testament of Genshiasogi. Turns out that Mr. Asogi was hiding his will in his cell at Barclay. Chief Warder Vigil called him in with it one day. You squeal it, did you? We rat, you know, tell her keep that secret? You can't touch me now. Hammer time. Mr. Vigil called side of that will through the bars of the convict cell. Mr. Asogi pleaded with the warder. Do not tell to anybody. Alright then, but what's on that papers? My final weapon! His will is the only weapon I have left now. A weapon? After, sorry, it looks like it just changed. The victim has been killed following the elaborate pretense of the jailbreak. The document mysteriously disappeared, didn't? Well, yes, all the prison wardens searched through the belongings in his cell, but the will was just nowhere to be found. Yes, the understanding was exhaustive search was made for the document, which became known as the Asogi Papers. Governor Kading? Well, you ordered your prison staff to find out at all costs, did you not? They still didn't fight, did I? Would it be right saying that you knew? You knew that the so-called Asogi paper had been the potential to make great waves somehow. Jinx, what the blaze are you blathering about? The wheel was found right on the problem. Fell aside where I said it would be. How can that be? Where is he? We'll search that place from the top to bottom. Well, you didn't have a proper job, you pilly-wally gullet. you can't criticize me now. I'm fighting. Oh, show it for you, Affer. Did you know you lawyer? Yes, you did. Read the document here. It's written in Japanese and reads, "The last will and testament of Geisha-san," which means everything is as it should be. Not quite, my lord. You see, there's undeniable inconsistency here. What? What inconsistency? Mr. Sawyer described this document as the only weapon he had left. And yet, this will contains nothing of significance at all. Nothing that will have given the convict any leverage. Are you suggesting, my lord friend, that the last will and testament stored at the Barclay prison all these years is actually a fake? As it clearly been demonstrated already, what men on the Barclay prison was far from above a board. Yeah, I had the feeling it was gonna be a fake. It didn't make sense, I read it. The last vilification by the defense was affront to the entire British of the legal system. The absurd notion of a weapon is something for which we can only defer a chief warder's word. The man could quite easily be lying, or at least sorely mistaken. What? No, I definitely heard him say that, I swear. Clearly we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to know exactly what happened with these so-called Asogi papers. It's a waste of time. If the will was fake, we're
Objection!
Mr. Bagel was stabbed in the back by the judiciary 10 years ago. He lost everything, very nearly his own life. And now you're going to do it again. Ready to brand him a lie and turn your back on him without even letting him defend himself? Scared the bar, the priest is hiding something. He's scared of the scared of something illicit negotiation. I'll take a shake of water, huh? That was too quick. What did you say? Testify! She'll hear more from the chief. If he testify! My God! My testify! It will seem that a vocal few are utterly blind to the truth. Very well then. Let me witness testify again. Before precisely what you think you saw convict's last will and testament. Yes, sire, my lord. As the warder responsible for condemning victims, I attended to Mr. Asogi and kept watch over his son. The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with the will in his cell. Something? He turned the cell inside out looking for it after his execution, but to not avail. He only found the two about the Asogi papers and directed him down in bound. The document was interfolds of a robe that was left in his cell. A kimono, I think it's called. You think he swallowed it? In his kimono? That's a lie. We searched every inch of that man's cell. We looked through his clothes, it can't be true. Were you not satisfied? You calling me a lie then once, you weave finger? Ah, there's nothing you can do about it now. You don't have any hold of me now anymore. Other than that, hold you. Sorry. That was really nice for that image. Other than hold you like to take off my cravat, of course, this is what you are going to do, is it? Are you going to give me a good shake again? Are you too scared? Little large, a double act. We complied. Ryunosuke was as far as was possible. All of his personal effects were delivered to his family home in Japan. The courtesy to the homeland the most notorious killer our country has ever seen. Cool. We were much obliged. I confirmed that all my father belongs to arrive safely. and you can deny handwriting instead of your old man, eh? Yes, there's no mistaking that he's my father's brushwork. Really? In his last will testament was my last weapon, was it? I think we can safely assume that the convict was merely prattling, knowing that his end was high. The counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please. Are we doing this? Are we doing this? Yeah. Yes, my lord. Yes, my lord. And before all the truth will be revealed, I'm gonna end the episode right now, right here, because I'm a piece of shit. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna need to end the episode a little bit earlier than usual. I apologize. And, we're gonna see you again very soon.